Do you struggle with not knowing where to grip the bar? Do you struggle with not knowing what muscles to feel when the bar is overhead? How do you actually get the most out of your bottom position and actually feel comfortable in the bottom of a snatch? Those are the questions we're going to be answering in this video. We're going to go through 3 simple sections that will make a dramatic difference to how you learn how to snatch. Now keep in mind, when we're learning a new skill, starting off on the right trajectory makes things so much easier down the track. It means you don't have to undo any bad habit, and it means you can start with a clean slate. Don't worry if you've already started, these tips will still be beneficial. So the 3 sections that we're going to go through are going to be grip, we're going to go through the pressing motion or the overhead positions, and then finally we're going to go through squatting. So today will be about nailing these basics, and if you get these things right, when you actually move to the first progression of the snatches, it's going to make it so much easier to move with confidence and to move with speed. So when we're talking about grip, we have an ideal grip position. So what we would do is we would take a barbell, a PVC pipe, whatever it is that we're starting with, and we would start with our hands narrow, and all we're going to do is bend our knees so it becomes very obvious where the hip crease is, and we're going to take our hands slightly wider and wider and wider until that bar is buried in our hip. Now this is going to be roughly where we're going to want to grip the barbell whenever we pick the bar up. Now as I mentioned earlier, if you're new to the overhead position and your wrists aren't necessarily strong, especially in those like extreme ranges, it might be worth starting slightly narrower just so there's not as much pressure on the wrist. So once we've got our width, we're then going to go look at the barbell in the overhead position. So when teaching the appropriate position for overhead, I'd like to start people seated because this is where I would start them doing their overhead squats from. Now, once the barbell's behind the neck, we're going to move our elbows underneath the barbell so they're in line with the bar. And all we're going to do is press up, pushing against the muscles in our upper back. Now, when overhead, we're going to look at the wrist position. We don't want it to be neutral. It has to be slightly back. I want you to think similar to that of a push-up. Now, when I'm overhead, I'm looking to feel my mid-back, a little bit of traps, and support through the scapulars. Now, there's a question that always pops up, internal rotation versus external rotation. And because Olympic lifting's been around so long, we can see good examples of both of these. For the average person, it's always good to start roughly in the middle for most things. I think it's a great place to start because when we go too much into internal rotation, the shoulders end up in an incorrect position. So for me, I roughly believe it to be in the right position when the appropriate muscles are doing the job and when the athlete yourself feels like they're in their strongest overhead position. They feel strong in that position. Now, when we're getting into our overhead squat, there's a couple of tips that I would suggest. One of them being, you don't need a lot of reps. We kind of mentioned the wrists earlier. They're a joint that we've got to be aware of. I like low reps, but I like high effort. So I think slow down, a slight pause, and then standing with control, not rushing out of the hole, is a great place to start. The main goal, because this is us beginning, this is laying our foundation for our snatches for the future, we're looking to feel the appropriate, we're looking to feel the upper back doing its job, and we're looking to feel even through the feet. When you're first learning the overhead squat, this will become your balance point when you get into a snatch or a power snatch, wherever you start in your first snatch progression. All I want you to do is, I want you to go too far forward onto your toes, too far back onto your heels, and then I want you to find the middle. Where can I feel my big toe, my little toe, my heel, and I can keep my weight through the middle of my foot. Now for now, all I'm going to do is press, I'm going to start my overhead squat, and I'm just going to go as low as I can keep it in that mid-foot position. I'm just going to slowly go down, slowly go down, slowly go down. I feel both legs even, I'm not too far on one side. I feel my upper back nice and strong, my shoulders aren't rolling too far forward, they're not externally rotating too hard either, and then I'm just going to stand nice and controlled, 1 rep. And I'm going to do the same thing again. Control, 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 control. Sit for a second, but stay tight. Control, stand. And then I'm going to lower. If you enjoyed this video, I plan on doing a very similar style video to take us through the next steps. But you can see a video right here that goes through 6 simple steps when you're learning how to snatch. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thank you so much.